What's up guys, Sean here. Just wanted to share with you guys a sharpening video on this Felkneven A1 Pro. And so I've actually already sharpened it with the DC4. I'd filmed it a couple times, but I just got a new camera and I'm still figuring out how to work it. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts on sharpening one of these Felknevens. I feel like there's a lot of confusion out there, and a lot of people are really confused by it or intimidated by the convex geometry. So let's go ahead and clear some things up. So we got this side right here. With the new geometry, the grind is much lower than on the normal Felkneven A1. So the grind's much lower, and that kind of had me a little bit, I don't know, a little upset, because I was thinking that with this new thicker 7mm extra 1mm spine right here, and with the lower grind, it was going to be much less sharp, basically more obtuse. But I've come to find that they've actually radically changed the geometry on this Felkneven. So we have actually a flat grind here and here, okay? And then starting at the lamination line here, that's when the convex starts, okay? And from there, just right here, I don't know if you could see that, that's where the micro bevel is on this new Felkneven. So when sharpening that, you shouldn't be intimidated by it. It just leaves you a ton of options. You can either sharpen right here at the micro bevel, okay? You can zero grind it from here to here, all right? But what you don't want to do is lay it flat on the stone and bring it all the way down to there, okay? That's probably just going to be too acute for this knife and what it's intended to be used for. So this geometry is actually much more acute than on the normal Felkneven A1, all right? Because it starts from here and the convex starts here, and then it has a micro bevel. So it's a little bit thicker at this part of the knife. I'm not sure if you could see, but this is actually incredibly thin behind the edge. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. I'm basically going to sharpen to about right here. It's going to be a little ugly with the DC4 because you're going to be able to see the scratches or whatnot in here. But at a later time, I'll be able to polish out those scratches and put a beautiful mirror polish that I'll blend into the flat up here. So let's go ahead and wipe this off. And we'll start sharpening this guy again. I've sharpened it. This laminated cobalt steel sharpens very well, so I've been very impressed by it. If you think that VG10 sharpens well, you're going to be very impressed by this steel. So it's very much like super blue is to blue number 1. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of Japanese steels for cutlery, but you basically have blue number 2, blue number 1, and then super blue, which you guys have seen on that Spyderco Sprint Run. So this, in the VG10 family, you have VG1, VG10, and I believe this one should really be named VG Super, but on the Takafu Metals website it's labeled as Cobalt Special, and so for Felkneven it's laminated cobalt steel, Cobalt Special, but it really does deserve the name VG Super or V Gold Super. So yes, like I told you guys, I already took the DC4 to this knife and it's been sharpened by the DC4. And so how you do it is I just hold the stone in my hand like so, and when I come down to it, I just raise the knife up until that shadow goes away. I'm not sure if we can see, but we raise up until the shadow goes away. Now when you're holding it in your hand right here, just don't be a dumbass. You don't want to slice off your fingers right here. So this is how much workspace you have to work with. Now my diamond is fresh, and I noticed right out of the box it was very coarse. It was great. It was like a coarse DMT, and it cut the steel really fast. And Cobalt Special really sharpens up good. So I'm just doing some edge leading honing passes right here on the diamond. Now, if I wanted to get this knife really sharp, if it was actually pretty dull, what I would have to do is I would have to basically do a scrubbing stroke on one side like this until I form a burr that I could feel. And then I would do the opposite, or do the same thing on the opposite side until I felt a burr form. And then I would do these honing passes that you see here to help reduce the burr, as well as help straighten it out so I can pull it through a piece of wood or plastic to then remove that burr off, reduce it in size to then reduce it even further with these edge leading passes that you see right here. But this knife has already been sharpened in my previous video, so I don't need to do that. I'll just show you guys the rundown on touching this blade up in the field. So you don't have to start with the diamond. If you just need a light touch up, you can just do the brown synthetic sapphire ceramic stone, or whatever Falcon even likes to call it. And as you finish on the stone, finish with extremely light pressure. Now you'll notice that when I'm coming to the belly, I'm actually rotating this hand to follow that curvature of the knife. Alright, and I feel for how sticky the edge is. It's feeling like it's getting there. Let's see what we have. Now we can see it's a little bit rough. There's a few little pieces there, especially right there. Can definitely use some refinement. I'm sure if I pop the burr on here, it'd definitely make it that much sharper. But I'm really lazy right now. I didn't do that in a previous video either. All I did was what you see. I just kind of did some honing passes on there. But I really saved that for the stones, to be honest. But if you want the most out of your DC4 sharpening, you're totally going to have to go ahead and pop the burr on that one side like I told you. So now let's go ahead and move on to the ceramic side, the brown ceramic on the stone here. And what I notice is it doesn't have these vertical serrations like the older DC3 and DC4 have. It's now a darker gray colored stone. And yeah, let's go ahead and check it out. I'll do some scrubbing on this guy. I want to see how well it polishes. Make sure I get all the way to the tip here. Sometimes the tip is the hardest part to get. Not bad. See, the stone is starting to load up a little bit. Now let's do some edge leading. Now in the field, if you don't have any paper to test with, you just want to look and see if you're getting the scratches out on the blade, or pop the burr. I highly recommend popping the burr, but it is more labor intensive to pop the burr on a knife, especially with these little stones right here. But so far this A1 Pro seems to sharpen much easier than my standard A1. And I feel like that has more to do with the geometry, although the steel is really awesome. it seems to take a very aggressive edge compared to just normal VG10, and that definitely is due to the fact that it has a little bit more of the ingredients in VG10 when it comes to the carbide formers, such as a little bit more chromium, a tad more vanadium, and some more tungsten. Excuse me, the normal VG10 doesn't have tungsten, just the Cobalt Special just has a pinch of tungsten inside the alloying. Alright, come in with some really light pressure here. Really make sure I'm consistent. Alright, finish it off this stroke. Cool. It's a little bit stickier. Let's check and see. There we go. It's amazing how a 7mm knife can be just so incredibly sharp. It's pretty sticky off the fingers, and that's just with this really coarse stone. I mean, this has got to be definitely under 1,000. I mean, we've got to be talking like a 400-600 combo, I believe. I don't know what the grit rating is on this guy, but it's definitely coarse. But that doesn't matter so much as long as the apex is good. People get really caught up in finishes when you know, it's more about the apex than it is the finish of the apex. Shaping it is really what makes a knife sharp. So now it's time for the good old-fashioned palm strop here. Now, as I'm doing this, if this looks dangerous to you, then you should definitely not do this, okay? You definitely can't be a dumbass and try to do this, because you can cut yourself really good. But it is a safe technique if you know what you're doing. And you just target this meaty zone right here, okay, right here on the palm. And if you have nice and calloused work hands, then it'll work just that much better. Give this guy a few passes here. And this will help remove any stragglers, help burnish an edge as well. You could also pull it through a piece of wood that you can find in the field. Alright, let's check it out. It's definitely cutting much better. Much quieter. Excellent. It's just such a big knife. Wonderful. All right, let's see how well we can carve with it now. And this is just a nice dry piece of pine here. Oh, just beautiful. The more curls you get, the finer the feathers, which in turn means the easier they will catch sparks and light up. And your feathering skill it's got to be bomb-proof if you need it, because if you're using this technique, it's because you don't have any tinder. It's because all the wood is soaked and wet, and even though you found that nice piece of standing dead, summoning the power of fire out of it is going to require some talent. And this Falcon Even A1 Pro is not going to let you down. This thing is freaking sharp. And you can see, just look how fine those feathers are. Looks like some of these almost have 20 curls. So, very nice. So this Falcon Even A1 Pro, if all you had was the DC4 that it came with and some know-how, this thing will get ridiculously sharp. I mean, impressively sharp. If you just have that know-how, the stone, geez, there's nothing holding you back. My impression of this laminated cobalt steel is excellent. Currently it might rank as one of my favorite steels. It very much reminds me of another steel. Let's see if I have it in here. Oh, I guess I don't. But what it reminds me of is the HAP 40 steel. It seems to be very, very similar, even though the compositions are much, much different. I believe HAP 40 is going to probably hold a longer working edge than this guy right here. But very impressive. Alright guys, so that's all I got for now. We'll have to do another video here in the future where I bust out those guys right there. Those are my water stones, and we'll do some sharpening with the water stones on this guy, as well as we'll have to do some stropping. Now that it's really sharp, I know that it can get even sharper with the stropping compounds that I have. Alright, thanks for watching. Take care.